European Union leaders will speak with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and US President Donald Trump ahead of Trump's planned meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin on Friday, the European Union said on Tuesday. According to Associated Press, European Union spokesperson Arianna Podestà said during a media briefing in Brussels that there will be tomorrow a call between EU leaders, President Zelensky and President Trump, in view of the bilateral meeting. The EU said it remains committed to supporting Ukraine and maintaining pressure on Russia through sanctions, which it is working to expand. Officials stressed the negotiations are confidential. Trump is scheduled to meet with Putin next Friday in Alaska to discuss ending the war in Ukraine. On Gaza, the EU said progress on aid access remains limited, citing new Israeli restrictions on NGOs and shortened re-registration deadlines, which was not the case in the past. All this is bringing more and more obstacles in delivering the aid, said EU spokesperson Eva Herntsarova.
Today, we are in a situation in which there will be tomorrow a call between EU leaders, President Zelensky and President Trump, in view of the bilateral meeting that President Trump has called for Friday with President Putin. Let me remind you that at the same time, the EU is extremely active on all fronts to support Ukraine and put Ukraine in a position of strength.
And as per usual, will not be able to go into details. All the negotiations are obviously confidential, but the key and core element remains our pressure on Russia works. This is why they want to get rid of our sanctions. So this is why we're continuously working on adding more sanctions to our packages.
Implementing the understanding is her priority at this stage.
It's necessary to say that there is a progress, but it's far from an ideal scenario, and it's still very insufficient. Israel is imposing some administrative issues, restrictions to the NGOs and our partners, which means that the re-registration deadline was shortened to 7 days. Israel also requires a list of people, which was not the case in the past, and all this is bringing more and more obstacles in delivering the aid.
US President Donald Trump says he can see a scenario where the US and Russia normalize trade relations if things go well at his meeting with Putin later this week. "I do, yeah," he responded when asked about the prospect ahead of the Alaska meeting. As for the prospect of progress at that meeting, Trump said, "I think it'll be good, but it might be bad." Trump said a couple of times during the press briefing that he would be traveling to Russia to meet with Vladimir Putin, but their summit is taking place in Alaska. "I'm going to Russia on Friday," he said in one instance. He also made an erroneous reference at another time to the summit being next week instead. In the meantime, Ukraine and its European backers on Monday sought talks with US President Trump in an effort to protect their security interests ahead of his summit with Russian President Vladimir Putin later this week.
I expect to have a meeting with Putin that I think it'll be good, but it might be bad. And I'm here for one reason: to get rid of a war that somebody else started. Should have never happened. And if I could end it, great. Complex war, a lot of bad blood, But Zelensky's been there for 3.5 years. So if you put him in a room, now I will say this, ultimately I'm going to put the two of them in a room. I'll be there or I won't be there. And I think it'll get solved. I expect to have a meeting with Putin that I think it'll be good, but it might be bad. It's going to be a big thing. We're going to Russia. That's going to be a big deal. What happens, happens. I'll let you know what happens. You'll be the first to know. I'll be calling the European leaders. I'm going with totally, I mean, we have a lot of talks. They're great people. They're great leaders, actually, and they want to get back. Honestly, as one of them said, I've OD'd on trying to settle Ukraine. They've OD'd, meaning they've overdosed on the settlement of Ukraine. Not a nice expression, but boy, is it accurate. They're tired of it. They want to get back to spending money on their country. Yeah, please be happy.
Mr. President.
Excuse me, I'm going to suggest my relationship with the European leaders, as you saw, is extremely good. It's perfect. It's beautiful. Wait. And we're going to try. I'll be in touch with them. I have 5 of them call me. You think it's easy? There are a lot of European leaders, but they rely on me. Very much rely on me. If it wasn't for me, this thing would never get solved until the last person breathing is dead. And I'm going to tell them what kind of a deal. I'm not going to make a deal. It's not up to me to make a deal. I think a deal. So I'm talking to the European leaders. I'll be talking to President Zelensky. I'm going to get everybody's ideas. I go into that thing fully loaded right up there, and we're going to see what happens. Now, I think one of 2 things is going to happen. It's going to be a good meeting, and we'll go a step further. We'll get it done. I'd like to see a ceasefire very, very quickly. Very quick. I'd like to see it immediately, but I'd like to see it very quickly. And we're going to be dealing with the European leaders, and we're going to be dealing with President Zelensky, and hopefully we're going to have a great success. Biden gave them $350 billion. Europe gave $100 billion. Because Russia will be, we have a couple of days to go, but the Russia is going to be very interesting. But to me, what is very exciting, and we're going to take back our capital. We're going to make it beautiful again, but we're going to make it, more importantly, safe again. It's going to be so safe. It's going to be a model. And then we'll look at other cities also. But other cities are studying what we're doing. And you have some capable people in other cities. They can do it too. But we have a great group of professionals. We're going to have a safe, beautiful capital, and it's going to happen very quickly.
Ukrainian military liberated and cleared the village of Betzilka of Russian troops. The settlement is located in the Sumy region near the border with the Russian Federation, according to the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. The Defense Forces of Ukraine have liberated and completely cleared of Russian occupiers the settlement of Betzilka in the Sumy region, the statement says. According to the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, the operation involved units of the 33rd Separate Assault Regiment and the 24th Separate Assault Battalion. During the hostilities, Ukrainian soldiers eliminated 18 Russian invaders. It is worth noting that on July 7, 2025, the Ministry of Defense of the Russian Federation claimed the alleged capture of Betzilka. The head of the Bilopilia community, Yuri Izarko, told the media that a few people remained in Betzilka. They refused to evacuate. According to him, there is no communication with the residents of Betzilka. Mobile networks do not work there. We remind you that the Russians have intensified offensive actions on the border of the Sumy region. The Russian army wants to create a so-called buffer zone in the border areas of Ukraine. The State Border Guard Service of Ukraine reported that in the border areas, enemy sabotage and reconnaissance groups and small assault groups are actively operating. According to British intelligence, however, over the past 2 weeks, Russian troops have not achieved any noticeable successes in the Sumy region. According to analysts, in June and July, occupying forces likely seized 500 to 550 square kilometers of territory in Ukraine following monthly increases since March 2025. Russian troops continued tactical advances in the Donetsk region, mainly northeast and southwest of Pokrovsk. The occupiers are attempting to encircle the city and pressure remaining logistics routes. Russian forces have now occupied nearly all of Donetsk Oblast territory south from Pokrovsk, the report states. However, over the past 2 weeks, according to intelligence, the Russians have made no significant gains in the Sumy region. Constant losses and Ukrainian counterattacks have likely disrupted Russia's plans to establish a buffer zone.